Hello, it's just Patrick here from Complete Health, and I'm just sitting writing some content for my book that I'm aiming to produce by next year, and I'm just writing a chapter on movement, and I came back across a case study that I'd looked at last year, which was what happens to orcas in SeaWorld. Now, interestingly enough, obviously the enclosures for orcas are very big whales. As anybody that doesn't know what an orca is, it's the killer whale. It's the black and white whale that you see in Free Willy. And orcas, when they're put into captivity in SeaWorld, typically they will always swim in the same direction. So orcas that are put into SeaWorld will always swim in the same direction. Now, what they basically observed over time is that these whales actually adapted to the environment that they were put in. So if you put a whale in a tank in SeaWorld, what starts to actually happen is the fin starts to bend on top of the whale. And what it does is it changes shape so that whale can swim in a circle more efficiently. Now, ironically, if ever they tried to make that whale swim the other way, it got disorientated and confused, and it couldn't actually manage it. Now, this brings us into the same kind of context of what happens with people and why they end up in my office. Is that people, very similarly to the orcas that swim around in a circle in SeaWorld and adapt their fins, people that sit in a chair all day or stand behind a desk all day or stand behind a till in the supermarket all day, or doctors or dentists that lean over their patients all day, their tissues will start to adapt in exactly the same way that our orcas will start to adapt their fins. Now, there is a tissue inside of every muscle that's called fascia, and it helps for us to hold the position and tone of our muscles. But when a muscle is held in a shortened position for too long, that fascia builds up and creates scar tissue. So a lot of people have heard of like desk-based postures or text neck or slouching postures, or some people may have even taken the mick out of each other at school because they look like Quasimodo, that very forward head posture where people have started to adapt their postures from slumping or slouching. Now, these things are manageable, but what we have to do is actually move the tissues, because when you overdo something over an extended period of time, your DNA in those muscles, or your cells' expression of DNA, starts to change. And so it will start to build either more connective tissue or more muscle in that area and start to hold tones, which can leave people very vulnerable to injuries when they start to try and move again after they have done the position for too long. So like I say, there's a lot of positions that people will have heard of, upper cross posture and lower cross posture. These are typically some of the most common postures that we'll see as chiropractors. And even stuff like functional scoliosis, if someone is holding a handbag or leaning on one arm an excessive period of time, we'll start to see changes and shapes in people's curves. Now, a lot of these things are correctable, but we have to start teaching the brain, the body, and the joints how to move again properly, which can take a little bit of time. Because if you think about how many times that orca probably has swam around in a circle, it's going to take a lot of times to undo it and go the other way. So just a little bit of food for thought. Are you doing something each day that may be making your body adapt in a negative way, like we saw with those whales in SeaWorld? So just think about it. And if you are, try to get up and move, stretch, move about, make sure those tissues don't adapt for too long. Patrick here from Complete Health. I'll speak to you guys again soon.